The camera almost slipped from my hands the moment she looked straight into the lens with tears hiding behind a smile. It was supposed to be a simple favor between neighbors, nothing more than an afternoon spent taking a few flattering pictures for a dating profile. But standing in the warm daylight beneath the golden branches of the old maple trees, I realized the woman in front of me wasn't searching for strangers online. She was searching for proof that she was still worthy of being loved. I had no idea that by sunset, the photos would become meaningless, and a single unexpected smile would change both of our lives forever. Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us hope is never truly lost, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to the Kindness Project. Your support helps keep these heartfelt stories alive and may inspire someone who desperately needs hope today. My name is Nolan, and after losing my fiancée 3 years earlier in a tragic accident, I had quietly stopped living even though I never stopped breathing. My days became painfully predictable. I worked from home editing photographs for magazines and local businesses, rarely leaving my small house except to buy groceries or walk around the neighborhood early in the mornings. Photography had once been my greatest passion, but after heartbreak it became little more than a way to pay bills. Every smile I captured belonged to someone else, while mine slowly disappeared behind silence. Across the street lived a woman named Maris. She had moved into the neighborhood nearly a year earlier with an aging golden retriever named Oliver and more flower pots than furniture. Every morning she watered colorful flowers before heading to work at the public library. She always smiled at everyone, yet there was something fragile hidden inside that smile. We exchanged polite greetings, occasionally helped each other carry groceries, and once spent nearly an hour rescuing Oliver after he squeezed through a broken section of the fence chasing squirrels. Despite those moments, we remained strangers living only a few yards apart. One bright Saturday morning, Maris knocked on my door holding her phone with nervous hands. She admitted that several friends had convinced her to finally create a dating profile after her divorce had left her emotionally exhausted 2 years earlier. They insisted that the problem wasn't her personality but the old selfies she kept using. Knowing I was a photographer, she wondered whether I could help her take a few better pictures. I almost declined. Photographing people had become emotionally difficult because every happy face reminded me of everything I had lost. Yet something about the uncertainty in her eyes made it impossible to say no. We agreed to meet that afternoon in the Riverside Park just a few minutes from our neighborhood. The afternoon sunlight painted everything with soft golden colors. Children laughed in the distance, couples walked hand in hand, and gentle breezes carried the scent of blooming roses from the nearby gardens. I found myself giving simple directions while adjusting angles and waiting for natural smiles instead of forced poses. At first Maris looked uncomfortable, trying too hard to appear confident. Then Oliver unexpectedly ran into the frame carrying a muddy tennis ball, making her burst into genuine laughter. I pressed the shutter instinctively. The photograph captured something impossible to fake. It wasn't perfection. It was resilience. As the session continued, something unexpected happened. We stopped talking about cameras. We talked about life instead. She admitted that after her marriage ended because of betrayal, she had questioned her own value every single day. She believed no one would ever choose her again. Listening to her reminded me how grief and rejection wear different masks but leave similar scars. For the first time in years, I spoke honestly about losing the woman I once planned to marry. Neither of us tried to fix the other's pain. We simply listened. When we finished taking pictures, we sat on a wooden bench overlooking the river while I showed her the images on the camera screen. She stared quietly at one portrait after another. Instead of complimenting the lighting or composition, she whispered that she hadn't seen herself look genuinely happy in years. Watching someone rediscover hope through a simple photograph felt more meaningful than every professional award I had ever received. Over the next few days I carefully edited the photographs. I softened the colors just enough to preserve their warmth without changing who she was. When I delivered them to her house, she thanked me with homemade blueberry pie. We laughed over coffee while Oliver rested his head on my shoe, demanding attention every few minutes. The afternoon stretched longer than either of us expected. A week later I noticed she hadn't uploaded any of the pictures. Curious but unwilling to intrude, I ignored the thought until she appeared outside while I was trimming my hedges. She smiled in a way that looked completely different from before. The uncertainty was gone. There was confidence, peace, and a little mischief replacing it. She admitted she had opened the dating app several times but never pressed the final button. Every profile she read felt empty compared to the conversations we had shared beside the river. Then she looked directly at me with quiet courage, smiled warmly, and confessed that she wanted to forget the app altogether. Instead of searching through endless strangers, she wanted me to take her out for dinner. For several seconds my heart refused to believe what my ears had heard. Fear arrived before hope. I worried that opening my heart again would only invite more pain. The safest choice would have been to politely refuse and retreat into the lonely routine I understood so well. But sometimes healing begins the moment we stop choosing safety over possibility. Our first date wasn't expensive or glamorous. We visited a family-owned cafe overlooking a small lake where ducks drifted peacefully across the water. We talked until closing time about childhood dreams, embarrassing memories, favorite books, and the people who shaped us. There were moments of laughter so genuine that nearby diners smiled simply from hearing it. For the first time since my loss, I drove home feeling lighter instead of emptier. Life didn't suddenly become perfect. We both carried invisible wounds. There were difficult evenings when memories resurfaced without warning. Some days I became distant, afraid history would repeat itself. Other days Maris questioned whether happiness could truly last after everything she had endured. Instead of pretending those fears didn't exist, we faced them together. Healing wasn't about forgetting the past. It was about refusing to let the past decide the future. Months passed, and the neighborhood slowly noticed the changes. My curtains stayed open instead of closed. Fresh flowers appeared on my porch because Maris insisted every home deserved color. I started accepting photography projects again, this time capturing families, engagements, and community events with genuine enthusiasm instead of emotional distance. She organized weekend reading programs at the library, and together we volunteered to photograph local charity events, discovering that helping others somehow strengthened our own hearts. One autumn afternoon we returned to the exact bench where those dating profile photographs had been taken. The trees glowed with brilliant shades of orange and gold. I brought my camera again, but this time there were no poses and no plans for online profiles. We simply sat together watching the river flow past, grateful that life sometimes writes better endings than we could ever imagine. If this story has touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who may need hope today, leave a comment telling us what part moved you most, and subscribe to the Kindness Project so more stories of kindness and second chances can reach people around the world. Special request, before this story ends, please comment, "Love always finds its way," if you believe it's never too late to open your heart again. Looking back, I often smile at the irony. My neighbor believed she needed photographs to convince strangers she deserved another chance at love. What she truly needed was someone willing to see the beautiful person she had been all along. And I believed I was only helping someone create a dating profile, when in reality I was unknowingly developing the first chapter of a new life for both of us. Sometimes the greatest love stories don't begin with perfect timing or grand gestures. They begin with a simple act of kindness, a shared moment of honesty, and the courage to believe that even after heartbreak, tomorrow can still surprise us with something beautiful.